I'm still not really happy with the result of this painting. I still think that the light parts are too white. I'd like to add more temperature. And there are some problems with the nose and the mouth, and I really want to solve it, because imagine this is a commission, then you really want it to be the person. It doesn't help you if people say, well, a nice painting, but it's not really her. You really must do the utmost to get the good likeness of your sitter, of your model. The painting is already dry for a week. It's dry to the touch. I can easily continue painting, and I will show you how to continue on an already dry oil painting. If you're familiar with Photoshop, I'll show you my magic knowledge. It's top secret, don't tell anybody, but it's a fantastic tool to detect some problems in the portrait. I opened the photo of the model in Photoshop and I go to an extra layer. Then I take my pencil and start to draw on the extra layer and I trace the portrait. I took the photograph after the sitting. I painted the portrait from sitting, and at the end of the session I usually take a picture of the model so that I can do maybe later some extra work. You see me drawing sort of roughly some marks. I jump a little bit in time because it might be boring, but you understand the idea. Here I finish the outlines, some drawings, some marker points of the portrait. Now I go to the image of the painting and I select the painting, copy the painting, active, I copy it and I paste it under the extra layer. You see, I go down and now I adjust my painting to the outline that I have on the extra layer. I see now there are some issues around the nose, the mouth, and also here. I can repair the painting now with this information. To be sure that my oil paint will really connect with the painting and to get a nice flow of brush strokes, if possible, because it's really difficult, first I add a thin layer of linseed oil. And I do it in this way. I put a little bit on my hand and I just push it around. You see, it doesn't do any harm to the paint. I'm not sure if this white is already dry enough, so I keep away from that. My concern is in the face. Now there is a little bit of oil added on the painting. So to repair the painting I have two different approaches. The light parts I do in the glazing technique and the corrections I will do opaque. So for that reason I made a palette out of the normal range of paint and 3 transparent paints. The transparency you can see on the tube. You see there is a square here, that means this one is transparent. Like, for instance, here it is opaque. I'll explain you how it is. Opaque, semi-opaque, transparent, semi-transparent. And for the glazing technique, I use a special medium. Liquid of Winston Newton. I add some of this medium here and I start glazing. And the glazing with my soft watercolor brush. The softer the better. Maybe that is too soft, but we will see. So I mix first a little bit of the yellow for the forehead, the touch of this. So this is a very thin wash of this color. Now you can see better what I did. I had to change the camera, I'm sorry. You see now there is temperature coming. Crimson. A little bit more crimson for the cheeks. I don't know if you can see that it changes. Here we go, a little bit more red, also here for the eyes. For the cheek, I use a little bit of this greenish umber. So, and this is for the lower part. You hardly can see that it changes, but it does. Not too much, because otherwise she gets a beard. I add a little bit more of red on the cheeks. And it has to be transparent because glazing is transparent. Here, here, not too much. So this is what I wanted to do for the light parts. Now I continue painting for the repairing of the nose and the mouth, and that's another issue. First I clean my palette here because that's what I don't need anymore. Also the medium, because it's a glazing medium and I need now hardly any medium. I will repair the mouth first. So my concern is that I cover the area around the mouth with some opaque paint, and I must be sure that the color is almost good. So I apply a little paint on my test strip because I must be sure that it fits in the area. More transparent oxide red, and maybe a touch of this green what I used in the glazing, because it must be a little bit more dull. Well, it's too reddish, but I don't want it to be so bright in color. Realize that every oil paint is transparent. So what you see here is the result of the white canvas and the oil paint. Once I apply again paint, it will go on top of this paint, so it doesn't show up the same way as it did before, because it's darker under there. Let me see what this does. This is the area that I have to correct, because the corner of the mouth goes up. You see, it's a little bit too bright in color, and I don't want immediately to go dull, but to make a good connection I will apply, oh, that's too much. Carefully I must connect the brush strokes with the previous ones. Still it's too reddish. I add a touch of this green. Try to connect here and there. Now I must come up with a color for the mouth. I remember there is some terra rossa in, and maybe some crimson, and a touch of ultramarine blue. Now she is already a little bit more laughing. Some deeper accent for the separation between the lips, crimson and Viridian green. Maybe some dark accent here again. This is not a nice connection, so I sort of... You see what I do? I tip on it to make a softer connection. Here I see there is more light, so is it too light? Could be. There is a shadow of the lower lip also, a small wrinkle over here, maybe that will do. And in the corner of the mouth there is that lovely soft shadow here. Always nice to put it in because it accentuates the smile. So here the same connection. I think it's not so bad. Now I try to repair the nose a little bit. These dark accent of the nostrils I have to cover with first a shadow color and then go higher. So I take transparent oxide red and viridian green, add a touch of this combination, and maybe to warm it up a little bit of cadmium red light. Is it right? Well, it's not that bad. You see, I cover the whole area. The shadow of the turning of the nostril wing is more reddish, and I must bring it up. So here I go. Later I must connect this brushstroke with the previous paint, which is always the most difficult in coming back. Make me a lighter one because of the connection. It's too light. Halfway. Maybe there is too much red. You don't want to jump out the red. It must have the same matching color of the complete area. This shadow has to go up again because I have to repair the whole tip of the nose. Everything has to move a little bit higher, upwards. So first again I cover it with a basic color. Now it has gone. Well, there it is darker, so make it a little bit darker. And then come back with the same shadow, this little shadow over here, but higher than it was, more or less here. On this side it's darker. There. And connect the wrinkle. The wrinkle is more reddish, so I add cadmium red light. And also this goes higher. I'm not really unhappy with the result. The only thing is that I have to connect this one and I later must add some deep darks for the nostrils. Let me do that first because that's good to know what contrast I need over there. Here. And there. Now the connection once again. I know by experience that this is the most difficult part of coming back on a portrait, on a painting, because the connection of the old paint and the new paint is difficult to match and to get right. And if you don't pay attention, starting here, you continue to connect that and that and that and that. So in order to repair this, you find yourself repairing the whole portrait. That's what you don't want. Maybe this is for the time being. What I want to add in opaque, this is what I painted with the glazing technique, covering the glaze on the lighter parts, the highlights. It also affected the temperature of the highlights, and the highlights are cool. So maybe I come back with a new highlight here and see if I can do something there on top. So a highlight is white and crimson. And a light on the forehead. I take a wider brush. Let me add some more highlights on the lips. A little highlight which gives information, more information, how typical her lip is over here. These tiny little things are important. There. Okay, I wanted to give more volume over here. Let me see. This dark over here will do. Not that much, but you see it's just enough. That's enough. Now I want to give the whole shirt more intensity. And that's again glazing, and I removed already my glazing medium, so I will add again a little bit of this medium. I'd love to give more intensity on her shirt. You see it change. Just a thin wash on top of it, and you see it gets deeper. The color gets richer. I don't like that too light area, so I come back with more of these. Well, I signed already the painting, so I will have to repeat that. And you see me sort doing funny brush strokes. I want to introduce more painterly quality here. You hardly can do on the face. It shows up if you do like that. But these areas I use to give some handwriting. Some more of these. These darks. You see how it changes, not too much. I want to concentrate here, not here. Now I see that maybe I have to repair a little bit the light on her white of the eye, because it's sort of dirty. Maybe I can make a nice color that I can use here, not too light. You might think this is pure white, because of the word white of the eye, but it isn't. It's always a sort of grey, sometimes it's purplish, and maybe you see I'm sort of hovering on top. I don't want to make it perfect because it shows up too much. Otherwise you see these hard round eyes, and that's what you don't want. Now I must be stopping, but maybe some darker accents. I can't stop, you see. Some darker accents in the eyes. There we go, makes it bright. Once again a sort of tipping on top. I would say hanging around the truth. I don't know if that's correct English, but that's what I say in Dutch. And maybe some darker accent here as well. The darker shadow, transparent oxide red with some viridian green, maybe a touch of this blue to get the darkest ones. Does it do? Well, carefully, because sometimes this is such a nice trick that you can overdo it. So take care. I wanted only to add some more contrast here. And once again, you see I did not use any ivory black. Don't use black when you see black. That's really, well, in the eyes I did, because that's the deepest dark usually in a portrait. But, well, maybe I can say that this portrait is finished now. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to like this video. The more likes, the more visible I am on YouTube. And see you next time.